Wednesday to the Seahawks world out there. Happy 4-0, gentlemen.
Wow. How do we get here?
Luck. All luck.
Take no foreigners. What? Foreigner what?
We're 4-0. No foreigners. We're 4-0.
No foreigners. This is Trump's America, no foreigners.
Jesus.
Building that defensive wall of bend don't break. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
4-0.
Yes. What's crazy to think about is, so there are actually quite a few teams that are undefeated right now. A couple of them because they got COVID and they couldn't play. But this is only the second time the Seahawks have been 4-0. That's kind of a... I don't know if that's crazy or if it's just kind of like... I don't know if it's one of those like weird things, because winning the NFL is so tough. Like, I think that's something that's hard to really think about. It is tough to win in the NFL.
It is. I mean, but it does feel like we should have been 4-0 a couple more times. I feel like there's a lot of inconsistencies even when we've been good. Like, even to the Chuck Knox era and in the Holmgren era, we've talked about it. There's a little bit of, Carroll's really good at the mental preparation stuff more than anything. And so there's, I think it's a higher possibility to him, and both of us have come under him. We had really good teams in a Knox and a Holmgren, but they never got to 4-0 because not mentally weak, but not always ready to play.
Yeah, and I thought that this past game against Miami was like a really good indication of that. There are a lot of things that kind of went wrong, quote unquote, in that game. There's the big drops in the game. There's, we went for it on fourth down and we didn't get it. I know a lot of people, which is my biggest pet peeve, especially in like the let Russ cook crowd, is like, yeah, go for it on fourth and three, but you also have to accept that sometimes you're not going to get that play. And that's kind of what I felt happened. They got, they didn't have a play. I think he got sacked on that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, other teams trying to stop you, other teams trying to win. Like, they're not just going to roll over just because it's Russell Wilson and his MVP year.
The other guys get paid too, as they say.
That is true. But it was a really enjoyable game. I thought it was really entertaining. I thought the defense played really well considering what we saw the previous 3 weeks. So I was really surprised. It kind of helps that we were playing it against a subpar quarterback for the first time. So that was kind of nice.
You shut your mouth.
Hey, he's a smart dude, but he's so hit and miss.
Subpar. That dude's been playing for like 15 years or 100 years or something.
If you were any of the four teams that Ryan Fitzpatrick was on, and you lost 4 times to the Seahawks,
6 teams.
Well, he's been on 6 teams, but he's played the Seahawks 4 times on 4 different AFC teams. He has never won, and to me, he is the prototypical journeyman quarterback. He does enough, but he's not the guy that you really should be like banking for. He should be the bridge between your last quarterback and your next quarterback. I
feel like he's a journeyman plus. Like, journeyman is like Rick Meyer. Like, that dude also played like 18 years, but he never really got on the field much and was like always,
Yeah, but there's a difference between someone like Rick Meyer, who is a little bit ahead in my time when I was really watching. But Ryan Fitzpatrick started for a lot of teams. He started for the Bucks. He started for the Jets. He started for the Bills. He started now for the Dolphins. So
maybe he's David Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like David Craig has more accomplished of a career than Ryan Fitzpatrick has, but that could be my bias and what I've seen.
That is true, sort of. I mean, but I just think that's because of the piece. It's because of the bias against him, like you're talking about. Like, basically, teams pick him up when they're like he generally gets used as a bridge quarterback, and it almost doesn't matter how good he plays anywhere he plays. He knows he's the bridge, and 2 years later, the young guy is going to take over. So. But like teams which are in a, like the 1983 Seahawks are not the kind of team that would pick, Fitzpatrick up. So he's never really had a chance to be in those situations, I don't think. And I mean, he could play lights out this year, and he's still going to be who he is. There's a lot of, I don't know. I always felt that if he actually was put in the right position, that he could be okay. I don't think he's ever going to get rid of the interceptions, which is a problem. But even those aren't as bad as you think. I don't know. I don't want to.
How many Super Bowls would he have won under Bill Belichick with the Patriots?
That's an interesting question to me because first of all, I think that's a great coach for him to play under. I don't think they would have got the 6. I'm not saying it's a Brady, but if he had this, if they had been forced to use him as their quarterback every single year that Brady was there, so like that 18 years, 20 years. Anyway, and they ended up with 6 Super Bowls with Brady. I bet they would have won 2.
Tony says the closest comp on the chat. He says Trent Dilfer, and he thinks that Fitzpatrick would have won 3 with Belichick.
I don't he doesn't have the arm. He's not like he's not. He's the Berg. If you guys knew that. Look at the video. He's trying to go look up Steve the Berg.
I remember Steve Stellar.
Yeah. He's I don't know. He's fun though. He's like a super poor man's Brett Favre, right? Because he'll throw the ball around.
Brad Johnson.
He's better than Brad Johnson. He's got the arm. I mean, he's got an arm. I mean, he'll throw the ball around. I mean, he's very much like you know what he actually is. He's a throwback. He's very much like a 1970s quarterback. Like interceptions don't matter. Like if you look at the best quarterbacks of the 70s, often the interceptions are almost as many as the touchdowns because the game has evolved and it's more efficient now. They didn't care back then. So like people like Ken Stabler. He would throw tons of interceptions. Even Jim Zorn, it didn't matter because you were just meant to like throw the ball far all the time, and that's what he does, right? I don't know. I dig the dude, as you can tell. Okay, let's finish the Fitzpatrick Stan hour and move on.
And to kind of put a cap on the Ryan Fitzpatrick topic, I kind of feel like to a degree, like he's a quarterback you can win with, but he's not. He's not a quarterback that I think you build your offense around. You definitely cap and limit what he does. He plays a specific role in your team, but you're really relying on other facets of your team. And I feel like anything, if you have the right coach, if you have the right composition of the team, that will kind of build everything. And I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, he definitely hasn't ever had that chance. I also think that teams haven't ever really wanted to invest in him, which is...
He's like when you've got a couple good wide receivers and your line's it's coming together, man. You're just kind of looking at who's coming out of college the next couple of years at quarterback. You're just kind of biding your time. You think, okay, we'll pick up Ryan because he can throw to these guys. We'll get some use out of our wide receivers, and maybe we'll get somewhere. And in the meantime, we look for our real quarterback. He's that guy. You got to have the wide because if you don't have if Miami didn't have Devontae Parker. Like they wouldn't have brought him in because like they would have been useless. You got to have like a certain kind of you got to have those receivers that need like the guy who can throw the long ball efficiently to get any use out of him. If you're just gonna be like a dink and dunk type of offense, like he would have never gone to Minnesota a couple years ago when they were looking for the bridge quarterback because it would have been a horrible fit. You got to have like speedsters who want to run, and you just got somebody to just throw the ball for a while till you get your good guy. That's what I think anyway. Yeah. All right, moving on. Well, the Seahawks improved 4-0, and Russ maintains his MVP level of play through the first fourth of the season. The Seahawks remain atop the NFC West, while some teams are starting to fall behind. Injuries and absences are starting to rise, but a new cast of players are showing their skills, so got a couple additions. We'll see if that's enough as Seahawks host the Minnesota Vikings on Primetime for the third year in a row. This is the Hawkscast podcast. With me, as always, is Zeb and Ross. And gentlemen, I'm really excited, not only because, just to put a ribbon on that game, I thought it was a really good showing by the team to kind of dig a little bit and kind of like overcome some mistakes that they made and get out of it. I think credit the Dolphins for trying to disrupt what the Seahawks did, but eventually the offense figured out. Credit to Darrell Bevel and Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, and apparently their audio headset went out, so even more credit to Russell Wilson. But he had a great second half. What's that? Did you say credit to Darrell Bevel?
Did I say that? I apologize. Brian Schottenheimer.
I say Bevel deserves a little bit of that credit.
It's all in the details, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But when you guys were watching that game, I was never overly concerned. I was never like panicking, even when they got within a score when it was like 17-15 and they scored their 5th field goal because we kept them out of the end zone all day. Were you panicked at all? And I said I was worried before the game, but I was very comfortable throughout.
I mean, you think at this point in the season we'd be used to it, but there was still that part of me that was like, come on, don't let them do this.
Yeah, in the first half, for some reason, I kept getting a little bit anxious, but actually later on when it was closer and whatnot, I didn't. But I think that might have been because I was really sleepy this time. I usually, as we've established, I watch these games in the middle of the night. I'm normally not tired, but for this past game, I was dead tired somehow, and I think I sort of wasn't mentally awake enough to realize I should be nervous.
What'd you do to snap yourself out? Was it the touchdown to Travis Homer that kind of brought you out of it?
No, I mean, like I was in a bit of a stupor, and so the game is like a kind of a series of highlights, and I just remember thinking over and over again, like, is Lockett having a bad game? Were they taking him away? Where's Lockett? And
I thought that was interesting too, and I think a lot of it was that they played really physical, which obviously because Lockett's size that does kind of hurt him a little bit. But I was surprised that he really didn't get a big look until the second half, almost the fourth quarter, I believe.
Yeah. But I mean, like, they paid the price for that as well. I mean, you just focus and take him away, but you're gonna leave Metcalf. Like, Metcalf was averaging now like 25 yards of reception, man. So
I believe he's leading the league.
After 4 games, it's not even like a small sample size. He's on pace for 1,600 yards on only 64 receptions.
Yeah, dude's averaged 4 catches in 4 games, and he's top. I believe he is leading the league in reception yards, which is crazy.
Yeah, he's first or tied, I think, but.
And that's the thing. He's not. This is an offense that's not throwing for 500 yards a game. They're always around 300-ish yards right now.
Yeah, 350, 300. I mean that's yeah. We don't spread the ball around as much as we used to. Although David Moore caught almost 100 yards worth of receptions this past game. But
quick shout out to David Moore and the fly sweep. It always seems like he messes up or something goes wrong, but then all of a sudden it turns into like a big play. I feel like
when you see him go in motion,
3 games he's had this year where he's had a fly sweep and it looks like it's going to get destroyed, and it turns into like a 15-25 yard play.
It's funny too because like when I see him go in motion, I'm like, oh god, why are they wasting a play on this? Because it doesn't seem to ever work in the past, but this year it's coming around. I don't know. Yeah. Is David Moore that fast? Apparently, David Moore's fast. I never really thought him as a fast guy.
Yeah, he got moves too. He's elusive.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Running back style.
I watched that replay on that fly sweep, and I thought so. Luke Wilson kicks out to block the edge, and he doesn't do a great job. He ends up kind of pushing him more into David Moore, and David Moore basically, I thought he was just dead to rights, but he just does a little juke move, and he like just burns the guy, and it was a great play. So credit to David Moore. He's having a really good solid season compared to last year where I thought he was a little bit down.
Last year he for sure was down. I think that's why they brought in Foot Problem Boy.
Philip Dorsett.
Yeah, that guy's never going to play for us.
And we still have Josh Gordon waiting in the wings.
What's the deal with that? Come on, let him play. You let all those murderers and rapists play in Dallas. Can't we have our guy?
Wow, shots fired. Yeah. But let's actually talk about the roster because I want to know a little bit more. So, topic number 1, Ross, I'm going to hit you up with this first. Are injuries and COVID-19 the biggest threat to the 2020 season? We're seeing a lot of teams, not just the Seahawks, dealing with inconsistencies with the rosters. Fantasy players are like scrambling left and right. What do you think is the potential threat to the Seahawks and even potentially the NFL when it comes to all these injuries and COVID-19?
I mean, injuries for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see because before this season, the move was to get rid of exhibition games and smaller and smaller, shorter and shorter training camp. And so this year there was no preseason, abbreviated camp, and OTAs, and coincidentally or not, there's injuries like never before. I mean, we're only in week 4, and Seahawks have 27 players on the injured list or something. That's half the roster, literally.
Yeah, half the active roster.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm interested to see the long-term effects. But as far as the threat to this season, I think we'll get through. I think actually, in a weird way, that the health will. I mean, we get a bye after this coming week, and I think players' conditioning will come around. It's not just because of the game. The game is only 3 hours a week, but they're able to practice more. They're able to train more now. I think conditioning will get better in the second half of the season. So I don't expect that to continue. I'm probably living a little bit of fantasy land. Probably everybody have like torn ACLs by week 8, but whatever. I think COVID actually is the opposite. I think I don't know. It's going to depend on teams. I think there will be in the end a couple of forfeits. I think some teams are just dumb. I think there's some owners out there that are successful businessmen because they inherited money. When you got money, it's easy to make money, but they're not necessarily smart. And I see GMs that aren't very progressive or forward thinking and not very science friendly. And to be honest, from the outside, the whole thing is just boggling. Like, how are you still having this? Like, how do you not know? The Seahawks, to their credit, early on, they're like, you live in this hotel, and this hotel is your world for the next 3 months. And you know what? The average NFL career is 3 or 4 years. So, yeah, you're going to give up a lot for 6 months, but you're going to get paid, and you only get to get paid 3 or 4 years of your whole life at this level. So deal with it. Yeah. And they honestly are. They cut the guy who couldn't deal with it during training camp, and that guy never got a shot anywhere else. He was the scapegoat, but he had to be made an example of. But I think other teams are just. I mean, it's funny because in some cases it's very clear that somebody knows something. Like Cam Newton, like there didn't seem much doubt from the beginning. Like when he got it, that oh my God, the whole Patriots are gonna. Somebody knew something. Like Cam must have broken a rule somewhere or something, as people knew, because there wasn't immediate talk like, oh, probably all the Patriots have it. And they're like. They knew he himself had done something, right? We're going to find out when they investigate that he broke some rule. And our whole spiel where we give him a bunch of credit about having matured is going to go away. Yeah. Because he's costing his teams games now, right? I mean, like last week, they would have won if Cam Newton was playing.
Yeah, so. I mean, that Kansas City team was definitely struggling against the New England defense, but because the Patriots couldn't do anything, it just didn't matter. Like, yeah. The Chiefs only needed 11 points to win. They won by, obviously, I think it was like 16, but the Patriots only scored 10 points.
Yeah. And they benched Hoyer, which I was surprised that he was the number 2, because going into training camp, they had kind of said it was an even battle between Cam and
Stidham? Stedman. I believe it's Stedman.
It's that very, very British name. Anyway, I was surprised, but both of them sucked. Right? He came in through 2 picks. Hoyer threw 1. Belichick must be just like. Can you imagine how Belichick feels after he's just perfected his system for 18 years, and the quarterbacks he wheels out there like ruin his game plan by getting three interceptions?
Edelman's was one of what am I saying here? One of them was Edelman's fault for sure, 100%.
That's true.
Did he butterfingers it off his hands and they just went for a tip interception?
And a pick 6 at that.
Oh, okay. Those are always fun.
And it was right in his hands. Like he just...
It was right on his hands, yeah.
It was ridiculous.
The ball was where it was supposed to be.
Zeb, what about you? What's your take? Are you worried that injuries and or COVID are going to be the biggest threat to the Seahawks and potentially the NFL?
Well, when it comes to the injuries, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to convince me that the lack of preseason isn't playing a major role, especially in some of these bigger, season-ending injuries that we've seen at a much higher level than we normally do, right? But if that's the case, if it is because of the lack of preseason, we're kind of at the point in the season now where you'd think that would start to level off. We've played 4 weeks. These guys should kind of be up to speed in full game shape at this point. Obviously, there's certain, we're not going to get those season-ending injuries back, so that'll always probably be more this season than usual. But outside of that, you'd think some of this smaller stuff would start to kind of level out and go away. I don't know if that's going to happen, but just based on the whole lack of preseason thing, that's how I feel about it. COVID, I'm trying to stay positive about what could happen, but I do feel like we're seeing upticks all around the country. We're getting into what would be regularly be considered flu season. It's just likely we're going to see more and more of this. Hopefully not to any crazy degree, but I think the likelihood is every week we're going to see at least a team or two that have some of these issues pop up. So
you don't think they'll adjust and kind of go more of a Seahawk route or close to it? Like, you don't think teams might just go like, especially with threat from the NFL of just like pure forfeit if you can't play, you can't play, so you forfeit.
No, I mean I do think that. I think we could be looking at teams forfeiting games. I think Goodell's a pretty hard-nosed guy, and when it comes down to it, there's just not enough open weeks to postpone game after game. So
what I don't like is that he's really, really quick to like you said, he's eager to punish. He's getting ready, but like I don't see the NFL offering up any like some cool plan.
No, they haven't. They really haven't planned very far ahead for how this is all going to work. I don't think.
You're willing to punish people, but you're not willing to help them out or like use your resources to coordinate anything or like do regional.
My thing is if they're going to go into a more lockdown type scenario like the Seahawks have done, they should have just done that from the start. Exactly. And now that we're seeing these teams having these cases, I don't like what's the holdup? Why wait to make it official?
Everybody over there is dumb, as far as I can tell.
Apparently,
and then 9 months into this is happening.
Even with if they do make something like that official, there's still going to be the guys. These are young dudes, 22, 23. They all got boners. There's going to be guys that break the rules, and if we see a big spike in cases, it's probably still it's not going to be 100% avoidable. So I could see them going to a situation where teams are forced to forfeit games over this. Hopefully not, but it's possible. And I think Goodell would probably rather do that and end up with some sort of a playoffs and championship game, Super Bowl, than to cancel the season. I imagine he'll do whatever he can to keep the season going, even if it means teams have to forfeit.
I think Zeb's kind of spot on with that. At this point, the NFL is so invested. They've limited fans. They've really diluted ability for fans to feel involved with the game, that this is something that they feel they have to do for their game, for their sport, for the way of life. Now, if they've done everything correctly, I think that's really easy to pick apart and say that no, they haven't. The fact that they did not bake in any additional bye weeks or make any additional plans other than say, no, we're just going to do what we normally do, a 17-week season. Every team gets one bye scattered throughout the season. That's going to be potentially the doom, because if the Titans aren't ready to play this Sunday, which I don't think they are, they don't have another bye week to move their game to. So that means, do they just get 2 losses and they end up 3-2 all of a sudden, or do they?
If they have 9 people out, but the contagion is stopped, then they can play. Just that they're down a bunch of people. That's why you get your practice squad.
Yeah, but the problem is that they still have more outbreaks. That's the problem.
Do they have one today?
They had one, I believe, yesterday or today. So it's not like they've actually shut it down.
Even when one more person gets it, that doesn't necessarily mean things. I mean, you can still. God, why is everybody saying dumb over there?
I think, but to Zeb's point, these are young men with money. And it's hard to tell someone who's lived their life being somewhat of like an alpha, who's kind of done everything they've wanted to do, and you tell them, no, stop. Now stop.
No, it's not. You know what?
No, because here, I want to point this out real quick, Ross. Yeah, We've seen this happen time and time again. A player gets drunk, they do something stupid, and the first thing so many people say is like, "Oh, well, why don't they have a driver? Why don't they have someone to take care of them? They shouldn't be driving." Like people would create reasons why they shouldn't, but the players are going to do what they want to do, no matter how much information is provided to them, no matter how much coaching, how much promise they are going to say, like, "Hey, this is really what's going to help you out." Chris Carter said, "Get a fall guy," and these guys still make the same mistakes. It's not rampant. It's not like every day, but it just takes a few people. And with this kind of pandemic, with what we're dealing with, I think that is a threat to the season. And I'm going to say one more part, and I'll let you jump back in. But back to the topic, the thing that I am less worried about with these injuries, while they suck and they're awful, I feel like our depth this year has been really solid. I've been really impressed with the depth of the players that have come in. Ryan Neal comes in and has back-to-back games with the pick. He had great stops at the line of scrimmage in this game, so I thought he played great. And that's the thing that I was impressed by. We're not getting killed by our backups, and that makes me feel more comforting, especially for the guys that are going to come back when Darbenbar comes back, when Adams comes back.
We're not getting killed with our backups.
I think that's something that I think is really promising. So I'm hopeful that injuries aren't going to be the threat to the season for the Seahawks at least. But COVID,
we have a historically bad defense right now, right?
We do, and that's the thing. We're going to talk about one of the key additions they made. But even Shaquem Griffin got activated to the 53-man roster for the way he's been playing. I don't know if I think he's been playing lights out, but I think he's gotten enough interest from other teams that they felt that they had to protect him and keep him on the active roster.
Yeah. I don't know. The COVID thing just points to me like a culture, like not into the NFL, but like of the nation. Of just like it's a culture of selfishness, to be honest. At this point, sorry, there's no other way of. I mean, like I know like the whole alpha male theory and everything, but you know what? Like there's like pro baseball over in Japan, but we're playing. I'm like, there's no like teams forfeiting things. There's no games being shut down. Like you know what? Like follow the rules sometimes. Like not everybody has to be John McClane and Yippee and whatever. Like you know what? Like it's a different situation. Like sometimes what is best and moral and heroic is to be a team player. It's to do what's best for society.
I think that's a fair thing to say.
I can't. I got it at first, but like it's 9 months on. Everybody over there must know now people who have died.
Oh, they don't. They so don't. People still don't believe it. People still are more concerned about my freedoms than protecting themselves and other people. It's crazy.
And the fact is, like, no matter how much some people laugh at some of the uneducated things to get the whatever, people believe what they want to believe. When you have bad examples all over the media telling people like wrong information about this,
I think to your point, Ross,
I don't get it.
Football fans as a whole are much more diverse in regards to their demographics than a lot of other sports. And I think that's evident with what we saw with social injustice when Kaepernick started kneeling during the anthem. Like that caused a huge rift in the fans. It never stopped people. Like I know a bunch of people that said, "Oh, I wish they would just play the game," or "I don't want to watch the games anymore." All those people are liars. They still watch the game, straight up. We are going a little bit long, so I do want to kind of wrap it up and move on to topic number 2. Really quickly, the chat says, Tony says he thinks that Shaquem stays with Shaquille, his brother, regardless. I don't know anyone personally that always wears a mask. And Birdfinger says, yeah, I can't imagine the Griffin brothers playing for different teams. Shaquem apparently was offered several contracts to a couple active rosters, but he decided to stay with Seattle, which I think is...
That's before he was signed, though. Like, once you're on a practice squad, I don't think you have a right of refusal. If you're on a practice squad, but another team offers you, like, a spot on the regular roster, I don't think you have, like, a choice, do you?
So it's interesting. So the way that the NFL has done it this year is normally if you're on a practice squad and a team signs you to their active roster, you get signed regardless. I don't think there's a chance to stop. But this year they are allowing you to protect practice squad players. So Shaquem has been protected multiple times this year, and I think that's why the Seahawks went in and activated him.
I see. Okay. I forgot about that. Yeah, I think you can protect 2.
You can protect, so you can activate 2 to the game and they fall back to the roster, and you can do that twice. And then of your 10 practice squad, I believe it's 4 players you can protect week to week.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to topic number 2. Zeb, I want to know, the Seahawks just signed a big dude named Snacks. Is our 4-0 record masking other deficiencies like our run offense and our run defense? We are currently 3rd in the NFL in run defense. We're not a top running team right now.
First of all, Snacks, Mr. Harrison, welcome to the team. I hope that you've been exercising and that you've got some good stamina, because we're going to need you to rotate and be ready when it's your turn to go. I don't know if our record masking our deficiencies. I guess you win how you win, right? So far we've been able to do what we need to do to get those wins. I do believe that our rushing defense has been pretty good. Obviously, that's easy to say when teams are mostly throwing against you, but from what I've heard and what I've seen people who actually break down the tape, they say that our run defense has actually been pretty good, and the stats obviously show that at this point. I don't think our run offense is an issue. I believe that we can run as good as we ever have with Chris Carson. We just haven't done it yet, and maybe that's one of the Pete Carroll playing the long game like he tends to, or I don't know. I guess we're gonna we talked about this last week, whether this let Russ cook offense was sustainable for the entire season. I think we have that rushing offense in our bag when we need it, so that doesn't worry me too much.
Okay, real quick, I wanna ask this question because I just thought about it. Credit to Chris Carson for coming back in that game, but did you think he converted that first down at the end of the game?
I thought he converted it. I thought their spot was short, and I'm really surprised that they gave it to us. But I thought where you saw where he ended up, it looked to me to be beyond the marker. But their spot was weird, and then it looked like there was definitely some space between the ball and the marker. So I don't know what happened there. But I think he got the first down in reality. So
there's a lot of reffing that feels like close enough this year.
Yeah, it really is. I do want to say, as far as our defense goes, there's that. We talked about it, where they're historically bad as far as passing yards go. I'll say this every week until it changes. Yards don't win football games. Points do.
Well, we're giving up a lot of points too.
Well, okay. Now here's the thing. I was looking at it. We have the 5th best point differential in the league right now.
Point differential, but that's because we're scoring a ton. We haven't scored under 30 yet.
Right, but I mean, ultimately, point differential is the important part. As long as you're scoring more than you're giving up, you're going to win the games. That's just the way it works.
Right. And I'm just saying
But look, this is the way the league is now. Like, this is just the way it is. There's no. It's just we're giving up a lot of points, but we're not giving up nearly as many as we're scoring. And I have faith in our offense and our ability to keep doing that. And again, I think, as long as we're able to avoid any more massive injuries, I think the defense is going to get better as the season goes on.
Russ, what about you? Do you think that when people see 4-0, that they are going to gloss over all of these potential deficiencies, or the fact that we haven't really seen a running back get the ball 20 times in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think running backs get the ball 20 times a game anymore. Like, if you got the game, there used to be rushers who had 320 carries a year. That doesn't happen anymore. So we've stopped rush. I don't know. Like, people are poo-pooing our run defense, man. Like, we've had runners. There's been 15 rushes per game. We play New England, and like Cam Newton's sort of like a running back. Like, those are designed runs. So that was 26 runs. Week 1 was 19 runs. So it's. It's not nothing. I don't know. I do think the run defense is solid, but I can see when it gets to like winter, there's going to be probably some more running going on, and there's going to be a place for Snacks. And so, and people have mentioned that maybe the part of the idea is to add to a rotation so that Jared Reed can be more effectively used as a pass rusher. I saw some talk about him kicking out even to 5 tech. I don't know. That's really the best place for him. But if he's fresh, he's fresh. That's a good thing, I suppose. I wonder who's going to get kicked off because you got us. There's only so many spots. I don't know who deserves to be left out. But on the other hand, we are a historically bad defense, so really it's going to hurt whoever we lose.
So I just looked at it real quick. On average, if you take out running backs, so that running back run, so that impacts guys like Cam Newton who ran it a bunch, but on average, teams are only running under around 15 to 17 times against the Seahawks right now.
Right, but you can't take Cam Newton now. Like that's part of their that's part of their offense is to run him.
But if you also look at if you
three
look
of
at
them,
Miami,
they were the only person there. It was 10 people on the line and Cam.
Right.
So and we stopped them. So when it mattered most. I don't know. I mean, I get. I mean, there's a place for him. I'm not saying there's no place for snacks. I'm just saying I would have liked maybe something to help the pass defense too. But in a weird way, since it all fits together, that could be part of it. Again, if he keeps Reed fresh and Reed is now a more effective pass rusher, that's great. That does help. We talked about bringing in strong safeties can help your pass rush if the coverage gets better. We'll see. It's all it's really hard in football to isolate any one position group or any one type of play. So it's all connected.
Yeah. I think when people think of 4-0, what they want to see is they want to win. They want to see you have 50 points to 0. They want you to just blow people out. That is the expectation. But we haven't really seen that this year. There have been blowouts, but amongst all the teams that have undefeated record, who's looking the most impressive? People because they saw Aaron Rodgers play on Monday night. He had a great game. He threw 5 touchdowns, but Is Green Bay the de facto number 1 team? Is it Kansas City? Is it Seattle? Is it Buffalo? I think there's still a lot of football to be played. I think people that aren't willing to look at how Seattle is winning will definitely question if we are trying to hide something. But I think to Zeb's point is we're making it work. Letting Russ throw at the rate that he is at, the fact that he is top 3 in all these passing categories, I think that just means that they trust him and they understand, this season, this is what we need to do to maximize. And if we need to, we have the running game that we'll fall back on. I think there's a little bit of concern because I'm concerned about Travis Homer as a runner. I'm not worried about him as a pass blocker. I think he's really great at pass blocking. I would like to see more of DJ Dallas than I would Travis Homer when it comes to running the ball, but that's the only thing that I feel like our running game is really lacking. Just Travis Homer, he just, for whatever reason, he just, whatever it's the schemes or the execution, I just don't think he's as good of a runner. And the drop between him and Carson's too great. DJ Dallas, I thought, showed, in the few snaps that he got, I thought he did really, really good.
Yeah, he did. Well, he looked good.
We're only a couple of weeks away from Penny potentially coming back anyway, so...
Yeah, that's and
somebody
I don't know what you do with that.
Well, somebody's going to lose a job. Probably Travis. Sorry, Travis.
I think they've been kind of featuring him, trying to showcase him, see if maybe we can get somebody to try to trade for him.
Well, then he's got to do something better.
I mean,
he's a hell of a blocker and a hell of a special teamer.
I could see something like that. Homer comes back as definitely a practice squad guy.
I can see, yeah. I can also see Hyde going to IR.
That would be really unthinkable to think that he was potentially our safety backup for Rashad Penny and ends up he's only going to have a few snaps for us. That's going to be pretty crazy.
I mean, he seemed okay. He was doing all right the first couple of games to the point that I picked him up in my fantasy league. Yeah,
that's what's most important.
That was messed up. It looked like Chris Carson was going to miss time. I spent $21 on that auction stock, picking up. Yeah, I'm never going to get a team out of him.
Chris Carson, he was my second round pick. He was great.
You got some of that Russ Wilson nano bubble drink.
Nano bubbles.
Yeah, must have. But really impressive. A really impressive game for Chris Carson. I thought he was hurt. I thought it was really funny when Brady Quinn said, yeah, Chris Carson, he's questionable to come back into this third quarter. And the first snap, there's Chris Carson on the field taking the ball. I'm like, all right, well, I know that Brady Quinn is only reading off the information he has, but he should have been able to see clearly that the guy was walking out of the huddle. So
I will give him a pass. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I like Brady Quinn as an announcer.
yeah,
There's
he's all
very
right.
few announcers that don't just like that aren't just like chalk like fingernails on a chalkboard for me, but I can handle him. I can
Final,
handle Chris Collinsworth, who most people hate. Anyway,
final thoughts on Seahawks
for
running identity, because it kind of seems like we flipped the script on them.
there's going to be a cool game in like the middle of November where 13 of our first 14 running plays on offense like a running plays. It's going to be awesome. They're
And
just
the
going to
game
like
after that, it's all play action.
yeah, and it's just going to be like what? And they're like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm looking for that Bill Pellet, yeah, because Bill Belichick will do that as well, right? He'll start a game with just like 11 straight runs.
Yeah.
Now try to figure out what we're going to do the rest of the game, motherfucker. Sorry.
All right, let's move on to topic number 3. Ross, I want to know, the NFC West, are they coming down from its earlier high? We see San Francisco losing against a very, very bad Philadelphia Eagles team. The Cardinals lose the second game to the Panthers. They're both 2-2. The Rams win, the Seahawks win, but is the NFC West as a whole starting to come down a little bit?
I mean, maybe Arizona was overachieving. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's such a small sample size in football. Every game is so important. What?
Eating chips.
Oh, that's not me. That was interesting. I don't know. I think the 49ers are hurt. We're all hurt, but they're really hurt. They're using their third string quarterback or something for
They
a while.
subbed out. They brought in CJ Beathard to replace Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
They almost won.
They did. So I mean, they're hurt, and like they have no wide receivers left, and their best 2 defensive players on IR for the season, not the short one, the long one. So I don't think this is anything against what I'm not going to say the 49ers were a bad team. They were well designed, they're well coached, and I hope by the end of the season, like they've come back, and so it's competitive because that steel on steel is kind of fun. It's better for the NFC West when the 49ers are good, and it's a good rivalry. They're a more natural rivalry for us than the Rams, and they're actually a pretty good rivalry for them because they're in state with the Rams. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of luster lost. That's not going to be like the lead story on the NFL's network anymore. How great the NFC West is, but I still think it's a really, really, really good division, and the Rams are exceeding expectations. Cardinals were maybe overachieving but they've got a young quarterback. Maybe they're due for some up and downs, but they've got a solid base. They probably need to use Drake a little bit more and make Tony happy. Tony's going crazy with the lack of Drake use. Anyway.
It's all about fantasy.
It's all about fantasy, man. Especially this year, because everything just looks like basketball right now. Anyway, that's my take.
Zeb, what about you? Any concerns about the NFC West?
Yeah, I'm concerned about having to play them all. I think that pound for pound, it's still the best division in the league. Although the AFC North, is kind of looks like it's coming together a little bit and could give us a run for our money. But yeah, this reminds me of the old NFC East back in the day. These 4 teams are all just going to beat each other up over the next couple of months, and it's going to be probably whoever does the best within this division that comes out on top in the end. So hopefully the Seahawks got the medal to take care of it. Yeah, I mean, like Ross said, the Niners are really banged up. I think if they, yeah, we're pretty banged up too. So it's not like they're significantly worse off. But I think if both teams were at 100%, they're probably pretty close. It's probably a coin flip who would win those games. So It's going to be bloody, but I think at this point, yeah, we're still the best in the league.
Is it fair to ask and question how good the Rams are when their first 5 games will include Dallas, Philadelphia, New York Giants, and the Washington football team?
Oh yeah, it's fair, and it's fair. The same thing with the Niners. Look at the teams they've beat. You know, it's too early, really, to say how good either of those teams are. Whereas I feel like the Seahawks have played a little bit higher level of opponent, although not much. We've still played against a couple of stinkers. So at this point, it's definitely fair. We're only 25% through the season. A lot of football left to be played.
I think you guys are both kind of correct in that Arizona played a little bit out of their mind. I think them winning that game against the Niners was really impressive. I think they've definitely faltered by not being able to kind of ride that wave. Losing to Detroit, that's not so great. Losing to Carolina, especially when you don't have any turnovers, you're just not able to execute, and maybe Hopkins is a little bit hurt. I think that definitely hurts their ability. So I think that is what I'm surprised by. The Rams, I think, yeah, it is a little bit too early, but I will definitely knock them down with the fact that they've only played the NFC East and one AFC East team, NFC East and one AFC East, sorry, and they lost to the Bills, and it was a really close game. They potentially could have won that game, but they got hosed potentially on a pass interference call, which I don't think anyone feels bad about.
I don't.
I'm not saying I do. I'm saying some people might. I think what will be really interesting is there's only been one NFC West division game played, and that was Cardinals and San Francisco. And it feels like for whatever reason, Seattle's NFC West schedule is always packed at the end of the season. We don't have it spread out anymore. We're always like jam-packed. So it will be really interesting to see as teams get healthier and as they get banged up, what is the implication? We are going to play 4 NFC West games over the next 6 weeks. So we have Minnesota this week, then a bye, at Arizona, San Francisco, at Buffalo, at LA Rams, and then Arizona. And then we're only going to have two more NFC West games to finish out the year. So we have 4 in the middle and then 2 at the very end of the season. But I'm looking at our schedule, and I feel like it's very favorable. So hopefully that means that
it looks very 16-0-ish. I know it's a half a joke, but you look at the schedule right now and like, where's the loss? Like with the 49ers as they are now, where are the losses? Buffalo?
I think Buffalo is going to be a tough game because it's going to be in Buffalo. I think the Rams are going to be a tough game just because it's always the Rams.
It's not Jeff Fisher anymore, though.
It's not Jeff Fisher, but we don't have a great record against Sean McVay.
Yeah, screw that guy.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like I see what you see, and I'm saying like that lines up really well for Seattle in the next 12 games.
14-2, it's the first time ever. That would be our all-time best record.
That would be our all-time best record. That would be beyond amazing, and that would make me really sad that we didn't go to any games this year.
14-2. First seed, which is the only seed now that gets a bye, right?
Yep.
So then, like Super Bowl. Okay, cool.
Or bust.
I'm in.
14-2 plus 3 gets us 17-2. Is that right?
Yeah. 3 wins to the Super Bowl after that.
Cool. All right. I'm there. Wilson MVP for the league and for the Super Bowl.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right.
With 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns.
I don't want to lose to Buffalo. Russ is only on the schedule now for like 64 touchdowns. He's slacking off.
Yeah, he was at 78. He dropped. What a chump.
64.
Typical Russ to start off great and then fall off.
All right, well let's move along. We got our final topic of the night. Topic number 4 is the Minnesota Vikings. And Zeb, I want to know, why haven't the Vikings felt like an actual rivalry game? We've played them, this is the third year in a row that we've played them, all on primetime, 2 previous years on Monday night, and then now on Sunday night. We've played Kirk Cousins 4 years in a row, the last time he was with the Washington football team. Why don't we feel like this is a rivalry? Like, we look at Green Bay as a rivalry, and we only play them, once a year, but we've played them in the playoffs. What is it about the Vikings that feels different?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. And it's that we've beat them 6 times in a row and haven't lost to them since 2009, when we were 2 completely different teams at that point. We're 12-5 against them, in history, but just since Pete Carroll's been here, we've never lost to him 6 times. So, kind of hard to get up for this as some sort of a rivalry when things have been as lopsided as they've been. We've really walloped them a couple of times too. So, it's definitely not a team that I look at as a rival for the Seahawks. The Panthers, when they had Cam, sure. The Packers, like you said, even the Patriots, but the Vikings, they just don't do it for me.
But here's the thing. So the Packers, Seattle has never won in Green Bay, and Green Bay has never won in Seattle. So I get that. And because we do play them often enough, I never felt like Carolina was really a rival either, because the only time that they've beaten Seattle was the one year when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but that's what made it feel more like a rivalry than the Vikings to me.
Okay.
And we played a lot of really close games against them.
That's true. That is true as well. Zeb or Ross, what about you? Do you feel like the Vikings are in anywhere close to rivalry territory?
No, and there's a lot to what you guys are saying. For a rivalry, it has to be competitive. At least the illusion, even if it's lopsided in results, but every game's close. Even that, or if it's a memorable game, and a lot of those Carolina games are. So to me, not as much right now. Once they lost Cam, and that gets to my point. Not as much once they lost Cam, so I don't feel like Panthers are now a rival, but it felt like that for a while. And that's the other aspect I think you guys didn't mention that you left a little space for me is I think for a good rivalry, you have to have not just the location and the games, you have to have the personalities. That's an aspect. Like when it was back when we were super rivals with the 49ers, the coaches didn't like each other. Kaepernick was sort of like the anti-Russ, they were kind of similar, but a different version. Like they were both athletic quarterbacks, but, it was sort of like the Legion of Doom or whatever version to the Superman kind of thing. The Vikings don't have, the personality. Kirk Cousins doesn't, he's a good guy. He's nice. He's bland. The coach is, he's not one of the dynamic faces of the NFL. So I don't think they have like the personalities to clash or to stand out. And I think that really hurts it as well. You got to have some personality there. And even the stars on the team, they're not, Adam Thielen is great, but is he like a super charismatic dude? Probably not. Dalvin Cook, great running back, but I don't even know what the guy looks like. So, I don't know. You got to have there's got to be like a clash of personalities or something, or there's got to be a bit of a story there to help it as well. And there's just nothing there right now.
Yeah.
If they had a better quarterback, or not necessarily a better one, but a flat, even if imagine like Gordon Minshew had gone there.
Gardner Minshew.
Gardner Minshew. That would make it feel more of a rivalry again, I think. Or if it would have been, if Cam Newton had gone there, then I think it would. But they got to have a different quarterback, and they've got to be a bit more competitive. Then it'll feel like a rivalry.
Tony chiming in real quick. He says it's easy to hate on Cam, especially back when he was with the Panthers. Aaron Rodgers has a punchable face too. I do not like his arrogance. Cousins doesn't even inspire mild dislike, and Cooks is good. Guy Thielen is milquetoast. I think a lot of what you guys were saying is true. There's no personalities that really cause there to be like a heated discourse or discussion.
Like, I don't be embarrassed to call myself the Vikings with that cast of characters. There's nobody there Viking-ish. There's no, like, alpha male standout dude there, is there?
Well, they also got rid of the guy that they played to be their Viking. You know, they said, sorry, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah. Rude.
They lost all their swag when Diggs left.
They did. Like, Diggs had the coolest name on the team. And he had the most charisma and the playing style. Even like Thielen will rack up the yards sometimes, but the playing style of Diggs. That's why Diggs got a national commercial, and Thielen doesn't. That I know of.
Which is surprising because you would think that there would be like this pining for a superstar that would be able to set themselves apart. That's kind of like why Christian McCaffrey is so unique. RIP to all the fantasy owners out there.
I can see
him, he's not that interesting of a guy by himself.
Who?
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, he's the coolest thing about him is his name.
I can see the idea of there being a rivalry between Seahawks fans and Vikings fans in Seattle, given the kind of the connection between, you know, the two areas. How a lot of people in the Seattle area came over from the Midwest. There's a lot of Vikings fans in Seattle, so I could definitely see that making it feel like more of a rivalry than some of the other ones.
Yeah, I think the point, like a lot of people have already said, is the fact that the Vikings have not actually won a game in a while. Their closest game was the playoff game when they lost 10-9 because Blair Walsh missed a field goal. But that defense, that Seattle defense came to play, and they stopped them from getting touchdowns, and that was the biggest reason why Minnesota didn't win that game. So, yeah.
Bingo.
Yep.
Final thoughts on the Vikings. It's a Sunday night game. It's going to be interesting. This is the last. Yeah. So we have this game, and then there's a bye week. But final thoughts on the Vikings on the Sunday night game. Chris Collins is going to be there. Your boy.
It's not my boy. I just tell everybody else hates on him. For me, he's one of the more tolerable people.
I think that of all the broadcasters, I enjoy the Sunday night crew the most because I feel like they're the most educated of the teams than any other broadcast booth.
Yeah,
fair enough.
With you.
From a national perspective, obviously Steve Rabel is great, but from a national TV perspective, I think they do the best job of like being educated about the teams they cover.
It's a good point.
All right, well, that is our topics, and we got some predictions, and I'm excited about some of these predictions. So let's see, who's supposed to go first, gentlemen? Do you have a choice?
I'll go first.
All right, Ross, what is the final score? Vikings versus the Seahawks on Sunday night.
This one, I don't think they can hang with us. 38-24.
Ooh, that's a lot of points. That's like a 3-score game. Zed.
45-17.
45-17. Wow, that's even.
Vikings.
Hey, it's working. I'm sticking with it.
You know, I'm really not even sure who the Vikings have on their defense. I know that they got Harrison Smith and he got DQ'd for a headshot. I'm going to go high scoring as well. I think it's going to be 35 points. I'm going to give the Vikings 24, so it's still a double-digit win. But I don't think that they're going to compete if we can play our game. Ross, currently Russell Wilson has a 3-touchdown lead in the NFL for total passing touchdowns. Does his lead stay at 3, or is it going to get closer than that?
It's going to increase.
It's going to increase his lead.
The Aaron Rodgers in second place?
It's Aaron Rodgers, I believe, is second place, and Josh Allen.
Yeah, so we're going to increase that lead this week.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to say over.
Yeah, if they're going to score 35 points in my prediction, Russell's going to have the ball. He's going to throw at least 3 touchdowns, I think, against this defense. So yeah, I'm thinking he's going to increase that lead. Who is going to be the Seahawks TD leader not named Russell Wilson? Is it going to be Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, or are you going to give it to other? Maybe like a Greg Olsen sneaks in 2 touchdowns or something.
I think Disley's going to come awake this week and surprise a couple of people with being part of the game plan and score a lead-off touchdown that's going to set the tone.
All right. Disley for the win. Zeb, who you have as our touchdown leader coming out of this game?
I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett.
I'm going to go with Chris Carson. I think Chris Carson is going to continue scoring touchdowns in the air and on the ground. He's going to get 1 of each, and he's going to have 2 touchdowns. Ross, yes or no, is Ryan Neal going to flash again? Second game in a row that he has an interception. It was a great pick off of the tip, and he had a bunch of great plays on the line of scrimmage. Is he going to flash in this game?
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
There's a diamond in the rough. We're due. We found one. Yay.
All right. Zeb.
Yeah, the guy seems to have just kind of that natural instinct on the field and game speed that you can't necessarily measure in a 40 times, so I'll say yes.
I think that I am in agreement that guy has been playing lights out, especially at the line of scrimmage. Him and KJ Wright, we didn't talk about KJ Wright a lot, but he had an amazing game. My only fault with KJ is that he dropped a couple interceptions, but yeah, I think Ryan Neal is going to flash again. Zeb, yes or no, is Cody Barton going to start losing some snaps to BBK or to someone else? He did not have a great game. I know he's injured, but he's projected to start this week.
Ross, you first.
Oh, sorry, Ross.
I think objectively he should start to lose some snaps there, but I don't think he will because it feels like there's a reason they're not playing BBK, and I don't know what it is. So I don't have all the information.
Yeah, I agree completely. I would love to see him lose some snaps, but I don't think it's going to be to Mr. Burke Hervin.
I think that you guys are on the right track. They obviously like him. He's a higher draft pick, and they do give guys a little bit of a longer leash than maybe we would like as fans. But I think that they're going to give him another game to see if he can kind of get it up and wrapped up. Ross, yes or no, is our run defense going to hold the Vikings to under 75 yards on the ground?
No.
No?
No.
I would love to say yes, but no, I think they probably get closer to 100.
Cook is good.
I think that, yeah, they're going to try to, but I think what they're going to find out is that they're going to fall behind and they're just not going to be able to run. I think that's part of the big reason why our run defense has been so good is that we've always had a double-digit or 2-score lead going into the fourth quarter, and teams have to throw, and they're having success in the air, so why bother?
I agree with you 100%. I just think 75 yards isn't the cutoff point.
All right. Final prediction for the night. Ross, yes or no, defense, the Seattle defense hold the Vikings to more field goals than touchdowns?
No, based on my predicted score.
Yeah, I would love to say yes, but same
Unless
season.
I'm saying 8 field goals got him to 24.
I mean, the Dolphins were limited to 5 field goals, so that's 15 points.
Right.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot of field goals.
I'm gonna go out on a leash and I'm gonna say that our defense, while they have not turned the corner, they are going to take advantage of a Kirk Cousins who I think has not gotten better in his years in Minnesota, and I think that they will have a harder time punching the ball in. I think guys in the secondary are playing really well. Quandre Diggs is playing well. I like what we're seeing in Ryan Neal. Shaquille's having a better game. He also had an interception. I'm thinking that we do hold the Vikings to more field goals than touchdowns because I think I only gave them 24 points to begin with, so they're not gonna be able to rack up the points. And those are our predictions. And that's our game, and we're gonna see it Sunday night. Gentlemen, what are you gonna do for the Sunday night game today or this week?
I'm gonna wake up and watch it because it's a Monday morning game for me. Maybe
I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm watching football all damn day, and then I'm gonna have my cousin over, my cousin Elijah, whose birthday is next week.
Shout out to Elijah's birthday.
Whoop!
Shout out to the birthday or to the person, man.
To the birthday. He's gonna celebrate enough. I don't need to give him all the glory.
Right.
And gentlemen, that's our show for the day. Any shout-outs?
Curse, we didn't mention you last week. We're sorry. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort. Thank you for some amazing memories. Thank you for the catch that got us to the Super Bowl. Watch that. That's one of my top memories of all time, even though we didn't win that Super Bowl. But
I tear up still. I tear up when I hear Steve Rabel talk and do the highlights of that game.
I've told this is like, I mean, it's just what happens when you're old, maybe. But I've told people that story. I've just like told that story, the curse game where it's 4 times they go to him. It's 4 interceptions, and it's Russell Wilson doesn't go out for the overtime coin flip. He's talking to Curse saying, "I'm going to you." I'm gonna tear up right now. And then he goes to him, and we win the. I tear up telling that story, man.
Tony, thank you very much. He did say don't forget Curse. So credit to Tony and for Ross for remembering. Sorry, forgot to give some love. Quietly a great Seahawks career. I definitely think that he was pivotal in so many big plays. He caught the game-winning touchdown in both NFC Championship games against the Packers and against the Niners. I think that is. It's not glossed over, but it's just kind of hard to think about a guy that came undrafted, bounced around some teams on the practice squad before staying with Seattle, and had a great career.
If we had beat New England,
one of the greatest catches of all time in the playoffs,
right?
In the Super Bowl.
No question.
If we beat that catch, like leads off so many like highlight shows, and we're still talking about it.
And we probably win the Super Bowl again the next year.
And we would have landed man on Mars by now.
There would be no COVID.
There would be world peace. Tony would have a win in fantasy football. Oh, sorry, Johnny.
Zeb, any shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to my cousin Elijah and his birthday.
Oh, that's right.
And shout out to Dr. Fauci for just being a rock a rock in a hard place.
Tony has a message for you, Ross. He says to bite him. Apparently, he doesn't like you making fun of his fantasy team.
He's got a good team. It just doesn't score enough points to win.
Always, that's the worst problem to have in fantasy. Shout out to Zeb and Ross for a great show. Shout out to Tony and to Bird for checking in with us live through the chat for the show. Shout out to Curse for having a great Seahawks year. Shout out to Jamal Adams for having a great Twitter feed during the Seahawks game. If you're not on Twitter during a Seahawks game, Jamal Adams is definitely worth a follow on Twitter. It's great. And we are the Hawkscast Podcast. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Check us out on Twitter at Seahawks Podcast, Seahawks Forum, the Hawkscast Forum, and go Hawks.
Thank you, Chop Chop. Go Hawks.